The accuracy of an instrument is absolutely vital, and you need to look at the specifications very, very carefully. We can have different types of accuracy that can be specified. Some are going to be less expensive and some are going to be more expensive. Obviously, the ones that are more expensive are going to give us greater accuracy, but it's all a case of understanding exactly what they are providing us with. On the screen in front of you, I have given you three different examples. The very first one is a percentage of the range, and they might tell us 0.5% of the range or 1% of the range. The second one is a percentage of the span, and the third one is going to be a percent of the actual measurement. Now, in order to understand these, you possibly need to understand the definitions that are going to come into place. And maybe I should speak about the range of an instrument. The range of the instrument is going to be the safe operating limits of that instrument, where the instrument is not going to get damaged and where it is going to give us an accurate value. For example, I might have an instrument that's going to measure from 0 kilopascals up to 1,000 kilopascals. Now that's the safe operating range of that instrument. If I was possibly to apply a vacuum to it and it cannot handle a vacuum, then it's either going to give me an incorrect reading or it can get damaged. And likewise, if I was to apply a pressure greater than 1,000 kPa, it's either going to give me an inaccurate reading or it's going to be damaged. That is the percentage of the range that we can go and have a look at. So the range is the safe operating limits. The span of the instrument will always be within the range of the instrument. So I can go and calibrate it from 0 to 1,000, or I can go and calibrate it from 0 to 500, or from 0 to 750, or from 250 to 750, whatever the case would be. And then your accuracy is going to be a feature of that span that we can go and work with. The very last one is going to be a percentage of the actual measurement. That is the most repetitive of the accuracy. Is also going to be the most expensive that you can go and use. And maybe I can just pull up a table to show you the difference. I would like you to focus on the table at the left, which is a percentage of the upper range value. Now let's go and say that this instrument is going to be measuring 0 to 100 cubic meters per second, and it's going to have an error of 1 cubic meter per second. So when I'm measuring 100 cubic meters, instead of getting 100, I'm getting 101. Now that's an error of 1. And these instruments are usually going to give us a plus or minus error. If I'm measuring 80, let's say that it gives me 81, and therefore I am getting a 1.3% error. If I am measuring 50, it's reading 51, and that means it's giving me an error of 2%. Now look at this. When I get down to 10 cubic meters per second, the instrument is giving me 11, and then the error is going to be as great as 10%. I get down to 0.1, and it's going to show me 1.1, and it's now going to have 1,000% error. So the lower down in the range that I go, the greater the error becomes. Maybe not a problem if you're going to do most of your measurements up at the top. Then you don't mind that small amount of error that's going to creep in, but you don't want to go low down, because then you are going to have a larger error. On the right hand side, we have an instrument which shows us the percent of the actual process variable reading. At 100, 1% of that is 101, and it's going to give me a 1% error. At 60, 1% of 60 is going to give me 60.6, and that's still a 1% error. And down at 10, it's going to give me a reading of 10.1. That's still an error of 1. So the more expensive the instrument, often the more the accuracy that you and I are going to encounter. Please do think in terms of the accuracy of the instrumentation that you are going to use. It is going to have an effect on your budget, and it also is going to have an effect on the accuracy of the instrument measurements that you are going to take out in the field. Thank you.